Okay, so we go live in few minutes, few seconds, not minutes now. Yeah. Let me go my timer. Here we go. 40 minutes. Hello and welcome, Kelvin, for joining us on Gladden. It's happy to have you on.
Thank you so very much. I'm really happy. Thank you for having me here today.
Okay. Well, before we begin, how's Zambia? How's the weather and how you doing out there?
Wow, quite in Zambia, we are quite well despite the cases of COVID-19. The cases are increasing day by day.
Oh, wow.
Besides the cases of COVID-19, everything is perfect.
Wow. Well, so to our audience out there, we just say thank you for tuning in. For some of you who are up early here in the US and pretty much in the afternoon, I know it's in Zambia. Thank you for tuning in and listening to this very interesting and motivating show with Kevin. Like we usually do, our guests introduce themselves and tell us the name and the country and the fantastic job they are doing out there. So Kevin, can you introduce yourself?
Thank you so much. First, allow me to say a very big thank you to all those listening from different parts of the world. I really appreciate your support. Thank you. I'm Kelvin Nsekwila, a practicing primary school teacher in Soka district of Zambia. I'm also the founder and executive director of a local nonprofit organization called Tusekwile Imiti Iikula Foundation, which translates cultivating children's potential. Our mission as an organization is to promote quality education for the most vulnerable and marginalized children in our community who have no limited access to education by building schools and supporting them to stay in school through school materials and financial support. I'm also a young, passionate, and motivated community leader who speaks to the students, adolescents, members of the general public, and also teachers on matters concerning entrepreneurship, sexual and reproductive health and rights, educational management and leadership, and many, many other topics that I talk to the community members. Besides being a graduate in the Faculty of Education, I have also held a range of leadership positions in the education sector and won accolades such as Global Goodwill Ambassador, which is the largest humanitarian organization in the world, with over 13,000 humanitarians around the world in 210 different countries and territories. Also, I'm an ambassador at International Youth Parliament, where we are trained to come up with strategic solutions to curb the world's most pressing issues. I am also an ambassador at World Literacy Foundation. Also, there's something that we are working on with Children for Health. It's an international organization whose headquarters are in London. We are trying to develop a curriculum that will benefit a lot of children in developing countries. Apart from that, recently on the 23rd of this month, July, I was officially appointed as as the heads of World Education Community. This is just a brief description of who Kelvin really is.
Wow,
Thank you.
wow. Kevin, you have a lot going on there in Zambia, and I'm very impressed that there's so many things you're doing out there, and that's a lot, and I believe that your community is definitely benefiting, like you said, from the talents and works that you're doing out there. So you mentioned community. Can you tell our audience, when you say community, are you working urban or rural Zambia? Where are you working actually?
Sure. I'm working in a rural part of Zambia, Isoka district. It's a rural district. And under this district, we have villages, communities. So I'm based in a community where there is no electricity. It's a rural community, a rural setup.
Wow. And what does it mean for your community, especially the foundation you run in a rural community? Obviously, I know there are a lot of challenges there, like you said, electricity. What does it mean, your foundation? What is your foundation bringing to your community right now?
Okay. What we are doing right now in my community, we have partnered with other organizations. We are trying to bring education to the lives of the most vulnerable and marginalized children. So far, we have established a third structure and employed 2 community teachers who teach the 50 scholarship-supported children who are currently enrolled at our school. We have established a school for our community. That's what we are currently doing.
Wow. So your foundation established a school and is currently working with the community. When you say community, how large is the group of people you're working with? Are you working with just villages and towns that are closer to you, or are you working with a district?
Okay. It's just a local-based organization, just working with the villagers and the few individuals that have incorporated in, individuals who share the same passion with me. It's just on a local-based organization.
Wow. So let's come to the part that I believe our audience are really interested in knowing is, how did Kevin come up with this idea? What motivated him? What was that point of inspiration that led to you thinking about this? Is it something personal? Is it something that you got motivated through your community? How did it all come about?
Wow, that's a great question. To begin with, I come from a very, very humble background. Things have not been easy. Our parents used to struggle a lot just for us to have food. For them to take us to school, they had to struggle. Sometimes they could go hungry just for the sake of us to have food and to go to school. Now, for the efforts that our parents went through and the sacrifices made by other people, they contributed a lot for my education and my family members' education. So I want to pay it through the lives of the vulnerable children in my community. Apart from that, I am so much in love with my community. And I believe that if I use education, I can use it as a conduit through which good morals, values, and skills can be inculcated into the lives of children. Also, the education, I can use it as a way of addressing the social economic challenges in my community, bedeviling in my community, which has not been spared the schedule of HIV and AIDS, substance abuse, childhood marriages, and other vices that do not support community development. So I believe in education. Education can really be used as a tool to change the community, a tool that can allow each and every person to have a positive life.
Wow.
That's really what motivated me.
Wow. And that's a very good point of motivation. I'll say to you, your love for your community, your love to see that your life can be an inspiration for young people out there is really motivating. And that brings you to the next point, break. I know it was not easy starting out. It was not just, an easy role for you, starting this foundation. Can you tell us what has been your challenge, or what was those challenges you had doing your, innovative or stress?
Okay, thank you. Before I talk about challenges, allow me to use this same opportunity to appreciate individuals and organizations that have made my organization a reality. There are a lot of individuals and organizations that have really helped me financially, morally, in diverse ways. I really want to say thank you. But my special thanks goes to Cultivate International. It's an international organization which helps and trains community leaders like myself. This organization has given me the foundation and prepares me to be a well-nurtured, successful community leader. I am who I am today because of the lessons that I've been exposed to by Cultivate International. Now, coming to the challenges, the major challenges that we face as an organization, the first one, I'll call it legitimacy. This is the part where we need, as an organization, to overcome public skepticism and distinguish ourselves from other organizations that do not do what they promote. The other challenge that we face and what we are facing right now is that we do not yet have a guaranteed sources of income. So it's really a challenge running all the activities of the organization without a guaranteed source of income. We only use our only resources. It's only sacrifice. Because of the love we have for the children, we sacrifice, we dip into our pockets and run the organization and do whatever is needed for the children to get educated. Thank you.
Wow, wow. That's a lot to do, especially within a rural community. And I like you the point that you just put out to thank the group out there who've been helping to support you in your straps. That brings me to asking you about this. Talking about group out there who's want to help you right now, or who are thinking about joining you in your own cause. Can you just talk about some of those projects that you're currently working on?
Okay. The projects that we are currently working on, I'll start from, as at now, we had a meeting with the community members and we started modding bricks for the school. The community members managed to mod about 15,000 bricks. 15,000 bricks. Now, what we are just looking for as at now are finances and funds to begin the establishment of an additional block at our current structure.
Okay, that's so the school we are talking about that the foundation runs right now. What's the level of the school?
Okay, currently we only have the preschool and the grade ones. We started operating. The organization existed since 2017, but we started official operations in 2020 January. That's when we had the first pupils. That's when we had the first enrollment. So we have the preschool and the grade ones at our school.
Oh, okay. So you run a preschool and you said what? The second part of it, you said preschool and what?
And grade ones, the first graders.
Oh, just first grader. Oh, okay. So, and I know that, and I want you to speak specifically on gender issue, because that's one of the things that I'm personally passionate about. And you mentioned that you work with, girls that are at risk, and especially in the rural communities that are exposed to early marriages. Now you are working with students that I believe you really said between not primary, but preschool and that of grade one. Are you having girls who are at risk at that age in your foundation right now, or is there extra or special program you have that you're doing or working with those girls with?
Okay, that's a very good question. We have also established outside my organization, myself and other health workers in my community, we came up together, plus teachers from the secondary school, we came up together, we sat down, we thought of coming up with an initiative that would help young girls and young men to desist from the vices that do not support community development. So we came up with an initiative that will only benefit those young girls, whether they are in school or they are not in school. So what we currently do to them, we provide entrepreneurial lessons, sexual, reproductive, and healthy rights, and other important lessons that may channel their energy from thinking negative things into productive lives.
Oh, wow, wow. And how has that been going?
It has been going so very well. It has been going so very well. Children have shown much interest. They come at the facility, we train them, we get their feedback, they go.
Wow. So
It's
I believe,
similar to what we,
yeah, go ahead.
It's similar to the curriculum that we're developing with the Children for Health in London. We want to create a curriculum that will create a particular children in communities. Those children, we'll call them super beta children. Those children will live lives worthy of emulation. They'll be able to train other children on good morals. They'll be able to train other children on how to live, how to protect themselves, how to become responsible and productive citizens.
Wow. That's a very great initiative, and I would say that I'm totally impressed by your work, Kevin, that you're doing out there, and it's definitely an inspiration for a lot of young people out there, especially around the world, in developing countries who are thinking about helping their community. You know, just starting with your community is just is a very human thing to do if you want to touch the world at large. So that brings us to you now talking to a larger audience. There are many young people out there. I know over here is early. Not many people will tune in, but they're going to definitely go back to this recording and listen and watch and follow the podcast also. But what would be your own word, you know, looking at your own experiences you had establishing this organization and moving forward with it, what would be your own word to young people out there who's thinking about doing something similar or something just like what you are doing right now in Zambia?
Okay, thank you. I strongly believe that there are a lot of young people around the world with brilliant ideas that can change the world, but they're not doing anything. The only thing that they can do is to take the first step. Once you take the first step, the rest of the things will just follow. Allow me to quote Thomas Edison. He once said, "A vision without execution is hallucination." End of quote. And we know a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step.
Yeah.
Once you start, the rest will follow. You need to know that you are where you are for a purpose. God positioned you where you are for a purpose. It's you to bring the change to the people where you are. Allow me also to use the words of Dr. Sos. Let me quote his words. He once said, "Unless someone like you cares a awful lot, nothing is going to get better." Those words were directed to you because they're listening to this. It's up to you to take the challenge. Go out there and make the world a better place. Remember, it's up to you and me to make this world a better place. We shouldn't wait for the politicians, for the governments, and for other big organizations from different parts of the world to do those things for us. Let them use us as channels, then we implement those things to the people around our communities, because it's us who knows what our people are going through. It's us who have the first hand of what is needed in the communities. And for this reason, I challenge you to try to make this world a better place. Just look inside yourself and recognize that change starts with you. It starts with all of us. So go out there and make the world a better place. You can do it. Thank you.
Definitely. You know, like you rightly said, change starts with us. It starts with you believing that you can do it. And if you just take the first step with perseverance, with consistency, you can definitely get there. So for some of you who's just joining us and probably listening to the already recorded version of this for this show, we run a podcast. This recording will be available still on this Facebook page, as well as on our YouTube, newly established YouTube page, as well as on every podcast platform that you listen to, whether it is Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and just wherever you listen to your podcast. You can definitely find this recording, this episode. This is series 2 of the Spirit of Innovation in Developing Countries. We're so happy to have Kevin, and we have a few more minutes to go. And now we are actually going to dive into, like you regularly heard him, encouraging young people out there to take that next step and move forward. But we're also going to talk about, if young people are going to take that next step, what will be their expectation? You know, what are those things out there that you know they should expect from your experience?
Come again, please.
So if young people and a lot of people, those our audience who listening to us right now, have been inspired by your story, they are so moved, and some of them are now thinking about, yes, I have to do something in my community. I need to start from myself, making that change. What would be the expectations out there if they're going to take that step?
Okay. The expectations are what I'll respond to that question based on my experience, or
Yes.
based on what my expectations were.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. If you go out there, you will live. If it's truly your passion, if it's really you want to make this world a better place, you will live a perfect, fulfilled life. You'll only find your purpose if you lose yourself in the service of others. So you will live a fulfilled life. You make the world a better place. You create a better environment for the next generations. Those are the expectations.
So I know we talked earlier, and you talk about, you know, going down into your own pockets and your team going to their own pockets financially to help the foundation run. Is that something that people have to expect when they are going to innovative art, that they will need to self-sacrifice on their own, you know, their own finances?
Okay. On that one, it depends. For me, to be where I am, people sacrificed whatever they had.
Yeah.
They contributed for my education, for me to be where I am. There are a lot of people who sacrificed their efforts, their time, their energies, their skills. Even teachers, lecturers, they sacrifice their time and effort for us to get education. So even us, if the situation requires you to sacrifice. If you're lucky enough, you receive all the funding, use it wisely according to what you have planned.
Definitely. And you know, you mentioned about the public skepticism when it comes to trust for local organization earlier in our conversation, and you just try to reiterate that point about managing your funds, according to what the expectation was meant for, and that's one of the very key areas when it comes to helping local organization. Many organizations are concerned about trust and concerned about funds being used for the intended purpose. What would you say to that?
Okay, on our own, what we do, we have put in place the mechanisms that can ensure the transparency and accountability of whatever we receive from the donors. If we receive anything, if we receive funds, there is a lot of reporting that needs to be done. Receipts needs to be issued. even photos of what we've used the money. And again, if the donors want to send money to you, they don't use personal accounts. They must be an organization account, which means you cannot withdraw that money as an individual. They must be signatories to go with you, you withdraw, and you buy things according to what is needed. So they must be that accountability and transparency. Once you have that, you win the donor's trust. And the reporting is also very much essential. You need to make the follow-ups, you report. Yes.
Yeah. Well, Kevin, thank you so much for joining on the Gladden Show. I'm so happy and impressed to have you. Is there any last word you have for our audience?
Okay. Thank you. To begin with, let me also talk to someone who might want to help us.
Yeah.
So the donors, sponsors, and individuals who really want to see organization keep going. Let me share this great opportunity that exists in my community with you. Our community has over 4,000 children under the age of 12 who have no access to limited education because of the so many socioeconomic challenges. Economic challenges include unemployment levels among parents, which makes it difficult for them to raise funds for their children's education. The other challenge is the classrooms that we have at one public primary school we have in our community. They are quite overcrowded to get the pupils to be properly educated. The other challenge is because we live in a community, teachers in a rural community, teachers are few because our community is underdeveloped and under-resourced. The other one, we only have one public primary school and one public secondary school, which is very far for most of the community children. So children opt to stay home instead of going to school because the distance is just too great for them to cover. Now, we know that when we have a school in our community, that will have a great impact on the lives of our children and the community at large. We know that when we keep children in school also, that will prevent them from getting involved into childhood marriages and prostitution, which in turn prevents them from getting sexually transmitted diseases. Also, when we put children in school, that will prevent them from substance abuse, which leads to less crimes and begging from the streets. Also, children will be able to complete their education that will prepare them for lifelong success, stability, that will ensure more income. So think of these economic challenges that we'll have once we have a school in our community. We will have stronger, healthier, and more stable families. So if it is your desire that you want to see us continue educating our children, please feel free to get in touch with me via email, kelvinnsekwila@gmail.com, or you can email Elaine at cultivateinternational.org. Thank you so very much.
The second you said you can get your contact is what? Can you just say your contact again so I can put it into the chat room?
Thank you. Kelvin Nsekwila @gmail.com, or Elaine, ELAINE, Elaine @cultivateinternational.org.
Okay. So like Kevin rightly said, it's an initiative that needs everyone support. And I personally encourage people to contact Kevin through his email and contact him through the organization link and try to talk to him and see how much you can help. like most of us around the world, especially from developing countries, you definitely know what rural education means, and you know how difficult it is. You know, studying the rural community is not something easy, and a lot of us who studied there and who came from there, we know exactly what the kids are going through right now, and the unexpected future they might have if these initiatives are not put in place and taken care of. The idea of establishing a school is a brilliant idea, something that the kids can be able to just, you know, take few steps and get there instead of walking miles and hours and maybe even traveling through kingdoms or maybe climbing hills and mountains. That's frustrating for a lot of kids, especially, you know, kids that are below age 5 or age 6. So Kevin, I'm so impressed by your work. We're gonna definitely have another time again. We're gonna keep following your progress and keep following your progress and keep making sure that what you're doing out there is definitely going to impact your community and be an inspiration, not just for Zambia, but for the world at large. Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much. I'm really humbled.
Thank you. So thanks to all of our audience out there for tuning in. Thank you for your time and in joining us. Again, you can revisit this recording or this show on this page. You can share, you can like with your friends and family. You can also follow the audio version on our podcast, Gladden. You can just step into your podcast search, Gladden, and you definitely will have previous episode that we've had before. This is the second series of the spirit of innovation in developing countries. We hope we can have Kevin again next week. We're going to have a new guest on our show. That's going to be on Saturday, and we're also going to have more and more young people around the world who are going to be talking about their own innovative initiative that they are doing in their various countries. So we hope you can keep following this show, keep sharing it with friends, and keep being motivated and inspired. You too can make a change in your community. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.